I'm never going to do that. All right, I'm going to call to order the September meeting of the town of Chincoteague. If we could all please rise for the invocation. Taylor.
Dear Colin, I have a follow. Thank you for getting us through the tourist season, Lord. We thank you for the success of it, Lord. Lord, people don't come here to see us people, Lord. They come to see your beauty, Lord. And Lord, we thank you for this beautiful place you give us to live, Lord. And Lord, we're extra thankful for our police department and EMS, Lord, that are extra busy during these times, Lord. But we thank you for that extra effort they put in, Lord, in our town, the whole town, Lord, the extra effort they put in, Lord. And Lord, we always pray that people will always want to come here and we be kind to them, Lord. And Lord, we just pray that we be kind to each and every one we meet. It don't matter what party we're in, Lord. If we can do how you would have us to live, Lord, there would be a whole lot less problems in this world, Lord. It's not a party, Lord. We just need to get closer to you, and we pray that we do that. Lord, just be with everything that we do. Lord, put a hedge of protection over our town, Lord, and we just praise you and thank you for all that you do. Lord, we ask these things in Jesus Christ's name. And for our sake, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome everybody. Hopefully you breathed in a sigh of relief this morning when you got up. Welcome to the rest of the year. Since nobody signed up, we won't have any public comment. I'll entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Staff reports, Mr. Talbert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Friday, August 19th, we had a visit from the Corps of Engineers, and that was the commander of the Norfolk District, Colonel Hallberg, along with his chief of policy and planning, Michelle Hamer, and a few other folks. They visited Chincoteague to listen to a presentation concerning our inlet study that we planned. We took the team on a tour of the island. Basically, we took them down to the inlet, showed them Mariner's Point and the inlet firsthand. We also took them through a couple of neighborhoods that are frequent flyers when it comes to flooding, so they could get the lay of the land. The purpose of the visit was for them to start strategizing on how to get our inlet study advanced in priority when they submit it in their budget for FY24. I think it was a good visit. We did have the top folks here, and we also had participation from the National Wildlife Refuge and NASA WALOPS as well, who sent representatives, and it was very useful. As you know, the study is a $3 million study, and we have a 50% match, which has been provided to us by this, was approved in the state budget last year, and we are very thankful for that. Again, the Norfolk District plans to submit this study for funding in their FY24 budget. Well relocation. During our quarterly meeting with WALOPS Flight Facility officials, I was informed that well relocation was dropped from NASA's current funding request for this year. Since then, I've had discussions with representatives of or staff members of Representative Lawyer's office, and today I had a conversation with a staff member from Senator Warner's office who are trying their best to still get it included this year. In fact, the representative from Senator Warner's office today said they're going to try to have it inserted. There's an outside chance of getting it in the National Defense Authorization Act, which is still pending. And barring that, he said it is a little stretch to do it this year, but feels quite confident that we can probably make it happen next year, if not this year. So for the well legislation, I also related to them that we were very interested in extending the time frame from 5 to 10 years, as well as making the language more general to include desalinization as well as well relocation. And they seemed very receptive to that, and agreed with it wholeheartedly. If you remember, I think it was the last regular meeting, we had a question on the status of our ARPA funds. So just to give you an update, of our total award of ARPA of $2,982,869, we have committed so far to 3 projects. The fire department SCBA compressor purchase, which was $53,750. The fire department's new ambulance grant local match at $90,000, And the ARPA committee and the council already approved a cutout for the Cropper Street waterline replacement and at $128,000. This total commitment is $272,750, leaving an available balance of $2,710,110 in our ARPA account. The ARPA committee, as you know, was formed by council to recommend projects to the council for funding, and they've discussed at length dedicating a majority of funds for ARPA to a limited capacity sewage plant, as well as a construction of a collection and conveyance system for that plant. This is a very expensive undertaking. It'll cost a lot of money, not just in construction, but certainly in design and engineering as well. We have until December 31st of 2024 to encumber those funds, and until December 31st of 2026 to actually expend those funds. So that is the status of our ARPA account at this point. The old firehouse, we also had a question as to whether we were making money or losing money with the old firehouse. Just a quick glimpse of FY22's efforts. We took in a total income of $32,085 in rental income from the firehouse for FY22, and our total operations and maintenance cost was $20,302. So it is paying for itself at this point. That is not considering that at some point in the future we will need to make some investments in that building. Not the immediate future, but at some point in the next 20 years we'll probably need a roof. There'll be some plumbing issues along the way that we will have to make some investments in. But at this point it is at least in the black. We do have one space currently available in there, by the way. It's the ambulance bay is available. All the other available spaces have been rented. Our financial report for the month of August, you will see already that our revenues are up 47%. Don't get too excited. That's the ARPA funds that we expected last year showed up this year. So we'll deal with that in a future amendment for our budget. Mosquito control expenses are a little high, but that's normal for this time of year because we're expending funds this time of year, where over the winter we won't be so much. And revenues are high for the center because we basically deposited the investment funds that the authority had invested. They transferred to us at the new right after the beginning of the fiscal year, so that makes them look a little artificially high. After barring that, we're pretty much where we should be financially for this time of year. Looking at meals and transient for this month, for the month of August, I should say, which by the way is for activity in July, because we're always that 1 month behind. You'll see that meals taxes were up about 16%, which is amazing to me, considering the issues that we're dealing with restaurants right now and the labor force. And we're also up for transient occupancy tax slightly. So still doing well in meals and transient. Transient occupancy tax seems to be about where it should be with a normal increase over pre-COVID numbers. So I'm very pleased with that. Building and zoning, Mark issued 44 building permits last month for a total of cost of construction of $3.8 million and the total collected permit fees of about $7,000. So as you'll recall, we did increase several of our building fund, our building permit fees, and they went into effect on July 1. So that's we're showing the results of that. Moving right ahead to Public Works, you'll see a couple pictures here. This is Inlet View. They're installing water lines right now. Down at Captain Bob's, there's some demo going on right now of the main slip. The pavilion, which it doesn't show here, is for the most part done at Brands Park. The guys completed a roof on that a few weeks ago. And we're working on the bathrooms now, moving right ahead with that, getting ready to do the plumbing hopefully this week. Also, street sweeping is a major thing. We do that a couple days a week in the middle of the season. We also cut cemeteries again in August. And the new VPA project for FY23, we got shop drawings in the other day. Those were approved and sent back as approved as submitted. So we're on the production schedule now, and I'm waiting for a new date and when they're going to ship our new material. If the new material gets here before December, we'll probably install both projects, last year's and this year's, at one time. Of course, you remember that this year's project's sitting on the dock down there, and we got it too late to install this year. Of our 2 mosquito trucks, spray trucks, one of them is down right now, not the truck, but the sprayer itself. The engine, let's just say, is not an engine anymore. And there's not available replacement, a direct replacement for that engine. I've called everywhere, and very difficult to find. We're on like a 19-week waiting delivery for that. So we're using one truck. We spray north one day and south one day. As you're aware, last week we did 2 aerial springs. Mosquito counts decreased immediately after the springs and then inched back up. I think everyone I spoke to feels like it's saltwater mosquitoes that are getting us, and there's little we can do about that as far as standing water. Something we've been waiting on for 2 years, we're installing a new boiler for this building. We're doing that in-house, and that should be done hopefully at the end of this week. We'll have a new boiler in just in time for the cold weather. So, Memorial Park boat ramp, I think all of you know by now, is closed. We did get a visit from the Corps of Engineers field people a few weeks ago. They did tell us that they see no problem with moving ahead on the permit. We're waiting on a permit right now. If you'll look in the paper this week, you should see the required announcement for our permit in the paper, and hopefully the permit arrives not too long after that. We've already informed our engineer to go ahead and finish up the documents for construction, and when we get the permit documents in hand, we'll be going out for bids pretty quickly right after that, within 30 days. After that, we should have a contractor on board. And that's all I have as far as general government staff report. I'll entertain any questions. Yes, ma'am.
Are we going to try this cycle for the paving in Ocean Breeze for any street, or how's that coming along?
The report that we have right now from VDOT is that they will give us single lane width at Ocean Breeze, which is about 16 feet, which is not too different than what we have there now. So we're going to probably take them up on that and maybe go back for a 2-lane width at a later time. They said we could get another bite at the apple if we wanted to, but we'll probably take them up on that. The plan was never to do all of Ocean Breeze at one time, but to work off a little at a time until we eventually get all the roads done. So, yes, to answer your question, if they will bite off on the single lane width, we will do probably one more road in there this year.
Okay.
What about on the Captain Bob's Inlet View properties? Have we made any headway in conversing with those outfits as far as sidewalks and bulkheads and so forth?
We made and speaking with the engineer early on, I think you already know that we made some suggestions as to what we'd like to see, and they were receptive to those suggestions. But in they are in the very preliminary planning phases of that project. So we expect to see the next time they come to us some of that incorporated. And there were a few issues that we pointed out with bulkheading there and how they're going to tie it back and that sort of thing. So we're kind of waiting on the engineer to figure that out. But I'll touch base with them again and make sure they understand that that's something that we are serious about.
Yeah, especially with the road down there and turnarounds and stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
How deep are they putting the water lines down there, Dan? That looks like about 6 feet or better. That's a long ways down.
That I couldn't tell you, but Mark has been on it. Mark's inspected every step of the way. In fact, he left for training today, and he was down there before he left for training. So
That's a long ways down there.
we're talking about it there.
Yeah, it looks about maybe 6 foot.
No, it's not quite that. I think
What, 4?
I think it's a little optical illusion there. That was down about 30 inches to me. Just don't
30 inches, that's more than 30 inches.
knowing the height of that valve, but
They've also built the road up a little bit. So
Right. It won't freeze. We're sure. it
No,
won't freeze.
it will not freeze down there. But boy, when you start digging, better have have something to hold
Might,
that earth
might
back.
have water.
You're gonna have water, and you better have something to hold that earth back or to cave in on somebody. That's all.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Jay.
Mike, do we have any information on any more information on the AC unit? I've heard several reports regarding the decoy show we had, and it was
Oh, yes.
quite warm in there.
Yes, we do, and thank you for reminding me. I had a service guy here today for the chiller. As you know, the chiller's on its last legs. I was hoping to get the chiller through to November because we've already ordered the new equipment for the center. And over the winter, of course, the boiler and the heating work fine over there, so we can maintain heat in the building with no problem. So if we can get through cooling season, we'll be fine. New equipment will be here over the winter. I got a report on that today. It should be here before Christmas. If so, probably after Christmas, we'll be doing the job. We'll get a couple-week time period there with no events. We'll get the job done, and we'll go heating and cooling with our new equipment from there. And by the time cooling season comes around next year, we should be in very good shape. Had the service guy there today to look at it, and circuit number 2, there's 2 circuits on this chiller. Circuit number 2 was completely devoid of any freon. They found a leak. They pressurized the system, and they think that it held for a little while, so they think they found the leak, or at least a major leak. So they drew a vacuum on it. When they come back tomorrow, if the vacuum's still in good shape, they're going to recharge the system, and we'll be in good shape, hopefully until the end of November, at which time it can do whatever it likes, and we'll be good till next year. Okay. Yes, I was here Sunday morning and several times Sunday trying to get that restarted, and not having the equipment, I couldn't tell there was no freon on it, but yeah. No indication up to that point that it was not working.
It was cool in there Saturday.
It was very cool there Saturday.
Yeah. Things happen. Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Talbert.
Yes.
Moving on to the police report.
Good evening, everybody. On August the 8th, Sergeant Adams completed a Leadership Institute at Christopher Newport University. That specific training there is to brush up, obviously, on leadership skills. Usually with, new promotions, we try to give somebody some training to back that promotion and help polish them up a little bit. So I think it was well received by Sergeant Adams. On August the 9th, I reached out, or actually the Church by the Beach reached out to us, wanting some active shooter training. And I got up with DCJS, and they actually were putting on a webinar for what they call now is civilian response and casualty care training. So it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of active shooter mixed with a little bit of casualty care on the EMS side of things. So it was well received, and we're going to try to do that more often and get some of the other churches involved too. I know the contact that I had at Church by the Beach, he said that he reached out to some other churches, but I guess really didn't get any input back. So we're going to try to make that a little bit bigger, going forward this fall. On August 8th, PFC Carmody completed his yearly SRO training in Chesapeake. It's required, and he's all done with that, and he was in the school this morning for his first day. And on August 17th, Sergeant Adams attended a grant distribution workshop in Norfolk, and that's for our DMV grants. So we're going to be getting those again next year, going all the way up until September the 30th. And on August 23rd, I attended the training coordinators meeting at the Hampton Roads Criminal Justice Training Academy. That's just basically, going over any new training, things that they have going on there. If we have to send somebody to the academy, just let us know, what's changing or something like that. And as you know, we're prepping up for our poker run. That's this Saturday. So if you guys want to come on down and see us, more than welcome. Love to have you. Love to see you.
What time does that start?
Bikes leave at 9 a.m. and last bike in will be 2 p.m. Auction usually starts around 3, and I think the band will be starting by 5.
What's your route this year for motorcycles?
They will go from Salisbury at the Harley-Davidson
and then they'll come down to Oak 110 in Snow Hill, Buck's Bar and Grill. I think that's back there in Kokomo Ford somewhere. And then they'll come back to Don's after that.
You got a lot registered?
Robbie counted 33 pre-registered, which is really good. Really good. So I think we're going to have a good turnout.
Still gonna close the street off?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. Next up is the EMS.
Good evening.
Evening.
Wait for Mr. Talbert to pull up my presentation. But as we get started, I know we're all glad that September has arrived. August was fairly kind to us. We ended up, again, your report was 7 shy because it was turned in a couple days early, but 100 even for August, which was 19 less than last year. So, interesting. Haven't really found any anomalies yet or any explanation for that, other than hopefully people were riding their bikes a little safer, swimming in the ocean a little better. I know we didn't have the rip currents that we had last August, looking back, so hopefully we can keep up with that and keep going. So let me. We had our EMS Advisory Board meeting the 4th and 5th of August. And a couple of the big topics that we're working on out there this year, and actually the biggest one is to get EMS as an essential service codified. We're working on different language and bills with that right now, and then we're going to have to find a patron for our bill once we get that up. But we certainly have some people that are interested. The main reason for wanting to push this forward is there was a lot of monies in the form of grants during COVID that EMS missed out on, because nowhere in any code is EMS an essential service. Police is, fire is, a lot of other things, but EMS wasn't. And I think COVID proved one thing: EMS is an essential service. And it's, again, one very near and dear to my heart. Another one here was approved a new scope for some medications for our EMT advanced providers at the recommendation of the Operational Medical Director Committee. This is another one that's near and dear to me because it helps rural areas. Not all rural areas can have paramedics or can have a good staff of paramedics like we do, or certainly like the big cities when you're 5 minutes from a hospital. So this helps our rural areas in the Commonwealth. And my opinion, throughout the United States, the rural areas are forgot about most of the time. So this is another good thing, and most of the EMS regions within the state have already incorporated this into their protocols, so they're actually using them now. Another good thing that came about was we decided, under opinion of the board, to draft a letter to send to the National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians opposing their accreditation resolution that they put forth. They had it out for the comment period, and what this would have done would have, not only in Virginia but in a lot of the United States, turned the emergency medical service training accreditation backwards. We'd have went backwards, almost to the point at some places where we might have been taking tests on stone and tablets again. So Virginia, we're very robust in our training and our accreditation programs. A lot of other states are too. So certainly we were in opposition to this, and they, after a vote on August the 17th, did rescind that resolution. So we're back to doing what we're doing. Now, of course, when you come to the table saying no or yes, you better have an answer to your problem. So that's the next thing we need to work on. Where do we go, as far as a state, to help the National Registry and other states that maybe are not reaching their accreditation right now? Also had a great opportunity to meet the new State Health Commissioner, Dr. Colin Green. He spent a lot of time in the Army, retired from the Army, and he happens to be, guess what, a rural doc. out in Western Virginia and does family practice. So who better to understand rural medicine and the problems that we have in, again, rural Virginia. The Legislative and Planning Committee, we're going to meet off-cycle on September 23rd because, again, we're working on this EMS essential bill that we have to get through the board by November so that we can, again, line up our patron, as well as the state EMS plan is up for final review and passage by, again, the end of the year. So we're working on those things. And then we'll meet again on the 17th and 18th of November to hopefully get a lot of these things accomplished and what comes across our plate by then. Emergency management, we're still talking about COVID. Weather monitoring, and certainly we're focusing on the tropics right now, as we always do this time of year. And then we're finishing up our after-action reports. The July 30th fireworks, we had a lot of positive come out of that. And I think a lot of that came from our July 4th. We were able to incorporate all that. So the pony penning after action is in a final draft state, and I hope to have that finalized tomorrow. So it's off the plate. So here's our current tropical activity. I know people out here have been, especially the weather guys, oh, you know, it's going to be a bad year, and we're all sitting back, you know, whistling, okay, well, you know, where's it at? Let's hope that it stays that way. Miss Pat tonight was trying to throw a little bit of bad mojo in there with us, but we've been very blessed with tropical activity this year. And you can see what's going on out there right now. Earl and Danielle are going to pose no threat to the United States. Earl, we probably will see some rip current risk from him, and Bermuda could almost take a direct hit by Earl later in the week. And then you can see there's some other activity out there. On some other interesting facts, August we had no named tropical systems in the Atlantic Basin. That happened in 1961 and 1997. In 1997, after that period, we had one Category 3 hurricane and 2 tropical storms in the Atlantic Basin, neither of which really impacted our area. In 1961, all right, for those of you that are younger than myself in the room, I was much older back then, we had another August period, no named storms in the Atlantic Basin, and we ended up after that with 3 Category 4 storms, 2 Category 5 storms, 2 Cat 1s, and 4 tropical storms.
Goodness.
So which one do we look at? Okay, so we're 50-50 on either side. So who knows what's to come in September. The only one out of those that was really even close was Hurricane Esther. That was a Category 5, but it did stay offshore and actually did a little loop out there. But wasn't a direct strike for our area. So again, now is the time to prepare. I didn't hear what he said, but I can almost bet. But anyway, now is the time. Stay prepared, stay vigilant, because even though the season is upon us and we're not seeing a lot of activity, it only takes one. COVID, our 7-day positivity rate is now at 19.6%, which has fallen from last month. And if you compare it back to last year, we're a little higher. But all in all, the current wave is starting to wane. And just since August, when we last reported, we had 581 total cases, and we have 602 today for only 21 additional cases. So again, you can see those numbers are starting to wane. So in summary, EMS has had a slight reprieve. And I don't think anyone is complaining about that. We still want to be weather aware because, again, the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season, and you'll hear the newscasters just, they throw it out there way too much. September the 10th. It's like a magic date that everything falls off. But what I want to remind everyone is Sandy didn't affect us until October the 28th of 2012. Almost November. And if you remember, Trick or Treat had to be postponed up until November on a Saturday, things like that. So again, don't let these statistical numbers stick in your mind because it can happen and it can happen fast. The latest COVID wave is waning. 6 months and older can be vaccinated. And I'll take any questions.
Anybody?
Good job.
Thanks for history lesson.
We've got two committee reports. One of them is the ordinance committee. Brother Jay?
Okay, on August 11th, we had the ordinance committee meeting. Among the items discussed was the consideration of the burning ordinance. And at that meeting, the committee made recommended changes to the model ordinance. Town Manager Talbert will incorporate those recommended changes and will present to the committee at our September meeting for approval. Also discussed was in regards to consideration of cigarette tax ordinance. Our committee recommended to join the Chesapeake Bay Region Cigarette Tax Board and also recommended a tax rate of 40 cents per pack, which would be voted on at the August 18th workshop meeting to proceed to public hearing. Additionally, discussed was to consider a modification to the meals tax ordinance. Our committee agreed to forward the council the town manager's recommended written revisions to the existing ordinance encompassing section 54-306. And finally, the committee considered modification to our noise ordinance, and after discussion, committee reserved the review of this ordinance. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Savage. All righty, and the BZA, we don't hear about the BZA. So, moving on, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the minutes from our August 1st and our August 18th council meetings. Are there any changes? Sorry. Are there any changes or adjustments or anything like that? Typos? All right. Billy made the motion to approve, but do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All righty. Now it's time for Bonnie Jean. We have before us a lot line vacation application from Miss Bonnie. Everybody's got the plat in front of them. Anybody have any questions or?
I just, my only question is, this will make it one big
big lot.
lot, right?
Correct. Correct, because I'm presently limited by that line. I can't widen my driveway or put in a little deck because I've got 5 feet from the,
Lot line, yeah.
that's, I walk out the door and I'm right there. so-
Right, right.
Any other questions? All right.
I make a motion, we approve the separation of the line.
I'll second it.
Motion and properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There you go, Bonnie Jean.
Thank you
can-
very much.
Well,
Got a little
Easiest
bit of
thing you'll
leeway.
do all day. Easiest
We
thing you'll
hope.
do all day.
It's not all bad when you come to the town. All righty. Now I gotta find the place again. All righty. Moving on, we need to have a public hearing for the town of Shingatig cigarette tax ordinance. Need to open that up for anyone who would like to speak on it. Come to the podium and state your name and have at it. Nobody? We do. Mike, have you got the tax ad up?
Yes.
All righty. I don't know if you want to go over the technicalities, Mr. Talbert, or,
I can do that, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like.
Yep.
As Councilman Savage reported, the ordinance committee met and considered a new tax for the town of Shingatig for on all cigarettes sold within the jurisdiction. As you remember when we discussed this before, recent action by the legislature allows localities to now tax cigarettes. County was getting ready or is taxing its citizens, and they can tax incorporated towns as well, unless the incorporated towns intend to tax to impose that tax themselves, which of course the town of Chincoteague is, the ordinance committee is recommending for council. The recommended tax rate would be 40 cents per pack sold within the jurisdiction, or 2 cents per loose cigarette. The tax would go into effect on January 1st of 2023, and in order to facilitate collections of the tax, it is recommended that we, the town of Chincoteague, join the Chesapeake Bay Region Cigarette Tax Board. Their duty would be to impose the tax for the town of Chincoteague. They take care of paperwork, collections, they even take care of enforcement, and they do all this for an administrative fee of 5% of the tax. So it's no additional burden on the staff here in the town office to do this, which is a very attractive thing for us. I do not yet, have not been able to get a total, or a estimated volume of cigarettes sold on the island, so we would not be able to determine exactly what the revenues would be here. But the maximum allowed to collect per the legislature's law was 40 cents per pack, and that is the maximum. If we join the cigarette tax board, that'll be 11 members. Of the 11 members, or of the 10 current members, 9 of them now collect the maximum, with the sole exception being the County of Accomack, which is only doing, I think, 10 cents per pack. The recommendation is 40 cents per pack by the ordinance committee, and that basically is the whole thing. You have two ordinances before you. One is the ordinance for the tax itself. The other is an ordinance allowing the town of Chincoteague to join the Chesapeake Bay Region Cigarette Tax Board. You also have a sample of what the agreement would be, and the ordinance to join the board allows the town manager to sign the agreement joining the board, and if the council votes that way, that'll be done tomorrow. Again, the tax would be imposed, would start collecting on January 1st of 2023, and I've spoken to the director of the Northern Neck PDC, who administers the cigarette tax board, and he told me that that would give them plenty of time to get everything working. January 1st of 2023 would give them plenty of time to get everything set up so that we'd be ready to go.
Any questions about it? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve both ordinances.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, next we have the meals tax ordinance memo. Brother Jay.
Meals tax ordinance, again, our committee agreed to forward it to the council. The town manager's recommended written revisions that he has provided to us in reference to section 54-306.
And you can see it in your packet in red.
I didn't want to read all that.
No, we got enough pork from the last time. Anyhow. All right. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank y'all. All right, council comments. Ms. Allen?
No, that
I'm not even saying go Yankees. They make me mad.
Thanks, Mayor.
I think we need to, over the wintertime months, we need to look into possible revision of our mosquito control
Absolutely.
processes. I know that they're getting a little bit technical with this now, especially in the southern states, with targeted spraying and hitting larvae and that kind of thing. And they're using their planes as sort of a last resort. Plane is our only resort, really. So I think we need to, I don't know if we talked about this, make this a wintertime project, that we look at this whole process that we use and maybe try to fine tune it, get some consultants in here to see if there's something we can be doing that's maybe better or more efficient than what we're doing now. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Billy?
Nope, totally agree with Chris, and other than that, don't have anything.
Brother Gene?
It was nice to have the carnival back and people enjoyed it and things going back to normal, and I think we're just gonna have to live with and learn how to do the best we can, because like I said, I think COVID's gonna be around a long, long time. And like I say, we got this safety and our guard up, but like I say, we're doing the best we can with what we got to do with. Thank everybody.
Brother Jay?
Don't
Good.
have anything.
All right, well, you know what time of year it is, so I gotta say it. And we did pretty good Saturday night, so roll tide. Other than that, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session in accordance with 2.2-3712D Code of Virginia.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
See y'all. Thank you for coming.
Two.
Thanks.
I think people bring in more food than what we would.